Did you go live? All right. So we're live. Anyways, so welcome. So hey, we are live right now too because this is the last series of Canceled. So first off, I want to say welcome everybody. So I hope the mask thing in here made a little bit of sense to everybody. I know that when you're sitting here, it's tough. It is. But I'm really appreciative all of you that are doing it. So I want to finish up our series on Canceled really quick, okay? And then we're going to head outside, do some games, have a fire, have some fun, roast some s'mores. There's going to be some food that's already dished up that will be given to you. So it's all COVID-free because the germs are everywhere. I don't know, whatever. So anyways, so for those of you joining us online or tuning in, we're glad you're with us. Tonight is for the high schoolers, so if you're sitting at home and you're like, oh, shoot, come on, there's still time for you to get plugged in here with all of us. So I got a question while we're kicking off, or we're starting. Which famous people do you guys follow? Does anybody here follow anybody famous? Okay, some people. I know you guys follow. I know right here you guys follow. I know because on TikTok, tax, whatever, it's all about famous people and getting famous. So... right? Okay. So throughout this series, we talked a little bit about social media, and I have a question because I'm curious, okay? Do you follow, which famous people do you guys follow? Like what, do you know names? Donald Trump, okay. I think a lot of people follow that. Anybody else follow famous people? How about TikTok? I know there's famous TikTokers out there that people follow. Like who? Anybody know? What about that? What about that famous guy that puts makeup on and everything? I see. Who is it? Who is that? James Charles. Okay. Yeah. See. Okay. So there's famous people. Anyways. Okay. So are there any famous people? Here's a question, you guys. Are there famous people that you hate follow? Like you don't like them, but you follow them to see what they're going to do. Hate follow. Logan Paul. Okay. Okay. So anybody else have people that you kind of follow that you're like, I don't really like, but they just do stupid stuff or they say stupid stuff? And I think some of us do. Okay. So it seems maybe we don't want to share, like if we hate follow somebody. So if we could pick somebody that's famous to be part of our youth group, who do we pick? Who? Tim Tebow? Okay. What? Chris Pratt? Okay. I don't know what you said. Chip Gaines? Okay. Chip Gaines. Okay, how about anybody else? He's on the home remodel. Yeah, Chip and Joanna Gaines, the whole thing. Yeah, anyway, everybody. If you're in the... whatever. Okay, so there's some people, okay? So in case you need more proof that, people tend to have strong opinions about celebrities, have any of you ever looked at celebrities but then clicked on the comment section? Like if a celebrity posts something and you click on the comments, like they have 500 comments. Do you ever look at the comments in there, what people post? Yeah, so if you look at it, right, you see that some people post funny stuff, some people are supporting what they say, some people argue, and sometimes there's some hate stuff in there, right? People are saying hateful things. So, every week, doesn't it seem like there's maybe a new villain of the week? Hey, Ellie. Doesn't it seem like there's a new villain of the week? If you ever watch on social media or on TV, there's always seems like there's somebody new or something happening that's someone's a villain of the week. Trending going on. Especially lately, it seems like there's stuff blowing up all the time where somebody new seems to be in the news. Okay? Whether it's maybe a famous person gets busted for something, there's a politician says something, right? People are all, especially as November gets closer, it'll be really crazy with different things going on. Okay? So, does anybody know, Wayfair? They were a villain of the week. They still are a villain of the week, right? Does anybody know why they're the villain of the week? Because they sell kids, right? Yes. Yeah, they sell kids. So you buy a $12,000 little bear frame, right? And then you click on the item number and it's some missing kid. So yeah, that's terrible. Anyways, so Wayfair is the villain of probably the year or so. But so there's stuff that's always popping up. Like we talked about a few weeks ago, if you guys tuned in or listened about social media and the phenomenon that's called cancel culture. You guys heard of cancel culture, right? Different stuff going on. It's a big jumble of online behaviors, right? Of people that are helpful, people are being justified, and sometimes they're not, right? They're being called out, maybe they're being shamed, they're being bullied, holding people accountable for their actions. Okay, so it happens like when people troll. You hear people trolling on the internet? Or start online feuds for fun. How many people have been on social media and see people bickering back and forth? Yeah, it happens a lot, okay? Or people fuel celebrity drama with different hashtags. Or some people use social media to embarrass or hurt other people or to intimidate other people. Or other people call out, don't they? Someone says something and someone calls somebody out. You see it all the time. Or they cancel them, okay? Maybe it's for legitimate reasons. We see it a lot for public figures, and that's going to be coming up a lot in November, okay? So, but what I want to talk to you guys, okay, I want to talk about when we have a legitimate reason to cancel somebody, okay? I don't want to necessarily say famous people or talk about trolling people online, but when there's somebody, a legitimate reason, something has happened, and it's like, hey, I don't want them anywhere near me. I want to cancel them out of my life, okay? So anybody in here have a famous person that you love to hate? J. Paul. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So why don't you like them? Why don't you like him? Why don't you like him? Okay, because he's stupid. Okay. Acts really dumb online. Okay. So why do you think people sometimes here's another question, love to hate each other? Do you have anybody that you love-hate? It's kind of like a love-hate relationship in your life? Maybe you joining in. Do you have a love-hate relationship? I think a lot of times it's in our families, don't we? We have like a love-hate. You might I have to love them because they're part of my family, but I really hate them. I don't want to be around them. Maybe you hear relatives coming up on holidays and stuff. So whether it's online or our families or circle of friends, because friends change, there's never a shortage of people who love to hate, right? Especially when we feel there's a good reason to hate people. Okay, so when someone hurts us, is it tempting to cancel them out of our life? What do you guys say? If someone hurts you, is it tempting to be like, I'm done with them. I don't want to be around them anymore. Yeah, you love to hate them. You talk maybe poorly about them. We've all been in a circle where somebody got hurt and then other people are talking bad, right? Maybe you dehumanize them. You say like they're less than the dog or something. I don't know. Or maybe you take revenge on them. You plot something. You try to spin a rumor to wreck their life or start something, okay? So, has anybody in this room ever tried to take revenge on somebody? Oh, that's pretty honest. Yeah, I'm in the boat with you, okay? There's been times where, and I'm not proud of it, but where you get hurt by somebody, right? And then you start thinking about like, oh, I just can't stand, like they did that to me, right? And especially if it's maybe in a public setting or if they go and badmouth you to other people, and you're like, why would they do that? It's totally wrong, right? And did you start thinking about it and different stuff? I mean, that's what I was. I was like, I don't ever want to be around them ever again. I want to go in the opposite direction from them. I kind of want to cancel them out of my life. But then the other side of me was like, no, Jesus says I should love everybody, right? I should pray for people. So as a Christ follower, I was convicted, okay? So it's complicated. Isn't it complicated when you have certain situations happen in your life? When we're hurt, of course, we want to like stick up for ourselves, don't we? Or we have people hold other people accountable for their actions if somebody definitely did something to you, right? But God also calls us, you guys, to show forgiveness and grace, doesn't he? Doesn't he? So how do we balance accountability? Like if somebody does something to you, to hold them accountable, but offer them grace and forgiveness. How do we do that? Or does forgiving someone mean we pretend like we never got hurt by them? And when do we need to seek justice? When do we need to seek justice? And when do we need to just let something go? Have you guys ever thought about questions like that? You know, do you think there is even a legitimate reason to hate somebody? What do you guys think? Do you think there's a legitimate reason to hate somebody? I see some of you nodding your head. Yeah? Why do you, if we're being vocal, why do you think that? What's a legitimate reason to hate somebody? Anybody have any thoughts? It's a tough one, right? It's tough, okay? Think about a fight you got in recently, okay? What caused that fight? Maybe you haven't been in a fight at all, but if you've been in a fight, think about the fight you got in. What caused the fight? What did you say, or what did you say that kept the fight going on? What did the person say to you? And did you guys come to a resolve yet? Was there a resolve in the fight? Or not? So really quick, I want to give you a backdrop, okay? So last week, if you tuned in, we talked about David and King Saul, okay? And mostly we focused on Saul. Did anybody in here hear about King Saul and David? From maybe Sunday school or reading Bible? Okay? So, I'll give you a little backstory, okay? We're going to recap just a little bit for those of you that maybe don't know. Okay? So Saul was king of Israel, okay? And God appointed a new king that was going to come, and his name was David, okay? Saul got mad. Saul got upset. Saul got jealous. At first, he was okay with it, right? And he didn't know who was going to be the king. And David killed, who did David kill? Goliath, you're right. So David killed Goliath, gets in Saul's good graces. Saul invites David into his house, says, hey, best bud, you come, you be in my house. And David starts winning victories for Saul and for Israel, and it's great. All of a sudden, though, the green-eyed monster creeps in, and Saul gets jealous of David because he didn't like the praise he's getting. So what happens next? Saul goes on this rage of trying to find and kill David. Just goes crazy. And David never does anything except listen and obey what he tells him to do. Okay? Repeatedly, over and over and over, Saul tries to kill him, okay? So, there's many reasons that that David could want to hate Saul, okay? It would have been totally reasonable for David to want to get revenge on Saul, wouldn't it have been? If someone's trying to kill you or keeps picking on you and threatening your life and doing all this stuff, would it be reasonable for you to say, I want to get revenge on that person? Everywhere you go, they're sending someone after you? Yeah. It'd be like, hey, this has to stop. We need to end this. So if you look in Samuel, 1 Samuel 24, okay, out of verses 1 through 7, it says this. When Saul returned from following the Philistines, he was told, behold, David is in the wilderness in En-Gedi. Then Saul took 3,000 chosen men out of Israel and went to seek David and his men in front of the wild goats rock. That's what it says, okay? But think about this. Saul took 3,000 guys to go get David and some of David's loyal companions. That's pretty crazy. That's hating somebody. You take 3,000 people and you're like, we're going to go end this guy that never did anything wrong to you? And he came to the sheepfold by the way. There was a cave, and Saul went in to relieve himself. Now David and his men were sitting in the innermost parts of the cave. And the men of David said to him, here is the day in which the Lord said to you, behold, I will give your enemy into your hand, and you shall do to him as it shall seem good to you. Then David arose and stealthily cut off a corner of Saul's robe. So here's David's men are like, go kill him. It's right here. God has him. They're in this cave. Think about it. Think about being in a cave, super dark, and your enemy, the person that wants to kill you, comes into this cave. He doesn't know you're in there. He's going to the bathroom, and you have every opportunity to kill him. And your friends are like, do it. Okay? So afterwards, David's heart struck him because he had cut off the corner of Saul's robe. He said to his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do this thing to my Lord, the Lord's anointed, to put my hand against him, seeing he is the Lord's anointed." So David persuaded his men with these words and did not permit them to attack Saul. And Saul rose up and left the cave and went on his way. Two things happen here, you guys. One, Saul's going to the bathroom, okay? Second, not only did David not kill Saul, he didn't let anybody else harm him. Can you imagine that? Like, he had the opportunity to take Saul out when all Saul focused on was killing David, okay? But he cut off his robe, and then he felt bad about it. He felt bad about it because he's like, I just dishonored my king. That's pretty crazy. That's having loyalty to even somebody that wants you dead. Then David had the opportunity to take revenge and let hate guide him. He chose to let Saul go. That's huge, okay? In the moment, David chose to love Saul in spite of his actions. It doesn't mean that David and Saul suddenly became best friends, you guys. It doesn't mean, too, that David was like, hey, I'm going to come back into your house, and I'll turn my back on you, and I'm totally going to trust you. No, okay? Actually, if you read on in the story, David comes out of the cave, and he goes up to Saul, and he says, hey, I could have killed you. And Saul turns around, and he shows him the corner of his robe. And it talks about how they kind of said, hey, we're going to have a truce, and they never talked again. They went their separate ways, and Saul left him, and David did his thing, okay? So what I want you guys to keep in mind here, the story we're reading is from a different time and a different culture, okay? It's about two powerful men, okay? Not people like you and me, okay? Definitely because we don't rule any nations, right? And we don't have any armies of people that we're telling to go out and do stuff, okay? So before we go any further, I want to make something really clear to you guys, okay? The moral of this story is not, hear me on this is the key word, is not to be nice to someone who is abusive and dangerous, okay? So if someone's being abusive and dangerous, it's not to be nice to them, okay? It's not to not ask for help when you're in danger. So if someone's threatening you, ask for help. And it's not to not seek justice when someone has harmed you. Okay? So if someone's harmed you, there should be justice. Okay? You don't keep that quiet. If someone's looking to harm you, you need to tell somebody. Okay? So, if you're in that position, or even online, okay, or if there is something going on in your life, I want you to look around at some of the leaders in the back and myself and know that we care about you guys, okay, and that we love you, and that this is a safe place, and we're here for you to help you, okay? So, I just want to make that clear, okay? God doesn't tell us to put ourselves in harm's way or to endure abuse and violence, you guys, okay? It doesn't honor God when you allow yourself to be hurt or mistreated. So if someone's mistreating you or hurting you, let's have a conversation. Okay? God loves you. He sees you guys. Okay? We see you guys. And we're here for you. Okay? The leaders that are in the back and sitting with you guys, okay? We love you. We're here for you. We want to be here for you. Okay? So, if it's not the lesson about the story that we heard, okay? Let me read that again. So if that's not the lesson we should take from this story, what is? This is what I want you guys to take away. Like I said last week, the Old Testament is full of different stories, you guys. Great stories. Things that we can apply to our life today, okay? And when you read the Old Testament, we need to also read Jesus' words. So if we look at Matthew 5:38 through 45, it says this: have you heard that it was said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? How many of you heard that? But I say to you, do not resist the one who is evil. If someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him and also turn to him also. And if anyone sues you or takes your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. If anyone forces you to go a mile, go with him too. Give to the one who begs from you, and do not refuse the one who would borrow from you. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be sons of your Father who are in heaven. For he makes the sun rise on evil and on good, and sends the rain on the just and the unjust. So what he's saying here is, as he often did, Jesus flips the script, doesn't he? He doesn't say, just love those who love you and hate those who hate you. No, right? Instead of telling an audience to love just people that are nice to you and hate those who hate you, Jesus is challenging them, and he's challenging us, you guys, to try something new, to love our enemies. And that's super hard, right? Although David lived many years before Jesus spoke those words, David understood that God wanted him, okay? God wanted him to return Saul's hatred, not with more hatred, but with love, okay? His decision to show Saul love and not vengeance points to Jesus' challenging us to do the same, okay? Love the people we want to hate. And that's my challenge for you today, okay, guys? I want us to start thinking about if there's somebody you're having a really hard time with, how can we turn that hatred or anger and start turning it into love for them? None of us, I hope, are currently being chased by a king, okay? But who might some of our enemies be? Think about that. School's going to be starting up here. Who's somebody last year that we had a really hard time with, okay? David and Saul, okay, never did see each other again. So what do you think the wise thing to do with our enemies is? Do you think that it's time maybe sometimes to part ways? Or do you think it's time to maybe to love them and start praying for them? When someone hurts you, do you think it's possible to forgive them? If you're hurt by somebody, is it possible to forgive them? Okay? Or hold them accountable for their actions at the same time. Can you forgive somebody, but also say, hey, what you did, you have to be accountable for? What do you guys think? Can that happen? Can you forgive somebody, but still, can there be accountability? Any thoughts? Yeah? Okay. So let's talk about this phrase, turn the other cheek, because I think it's misunderstood, you guys. Okay? When Jesus said this, he didn't mean never stand up for yourself or others, okay? Or let people walk all over you. That's not what he said, okay? Jesus had no problem verbally defending himself. Jesus often got angry at people who were cruel and hurtful, but Jesus never sought revenge or was cruel to others, was he? Or escalated a conflict because his pride was wounded, okay? Here's what I think Jesus meant when he said, turn the other cheek, you guys. When someone attacks, hurts, or lashes out at you, don't become overraged with anger, okay? Don't let anger take over you. Don't plot your revenge, okay? Don't escalate a situation. Don't react without thinking, okay? React wisely instead. You always heard it. Count to 10 first, right? Think about it, okay? Now, I'll let you in on a little secret from Jesus. Many people think Jesus was only kind and gave mercy and a peace-loving man, okay? But did you ever also know that Jesus was a revolutionary? That Jesus changed the world with 12 people? Jesus upset both religious people and politicians, right, of his day, enough so that they wanted to kill him, you guys, okay? Jesus' enemies would often try to provoke him or trap him so that they could accuse him, right, get him arrested. So imagine for a moment, think about this, that you're angry with someone and you want to punch them in the face, okay? They want to punch them in the face, and you're looking for a fight, okay? But then something strange happens. You go up to them. Let's say, could I have two people? Want to come up here? Come on, Hannah Kennedy. You fight all. Okay. Okay. So let's say you guys are in a fight. Okay? Alexis comes up to Ashlyn, punches Ashlyn in the face. Don't punch her in the face, actually. Okay? Now, Ashlyn, instead of what would normal response be? Fight back, right? Now, what happens if Ashlyn turns her cheek and says, "Oh yeah, hit me again on the other side"? Okay. Now wait. Okay. Now, think about this. Stop and consider what Alexis just did. She came out and punched Ashlyn in the face. That's crazy, right? Now, if Ashlyn turns her and doesn't retaliate, okay, realize Alexis can't hit Ashlyn back again, even if Ashlyn did something to her, because now that makes Alexis the bad guy, because Ashlyn's not fighting back. She's like, hey, okay? Once you calm down, once you start to think about like, whoa, why aren't they fighting back? What's going on? And maybe Alexis might feel ashamed now, be like, I just punched Ashlyn in the face because I was mad at her, and Ashlyn didn't even fight back at me. She turned the other cheek, okay? And hopefully, through that, maybe you would come to an agreement, apology, and maybe walk away. Okay? Thanks, you guys. So, that would be the power of love. Hopefully, no one will ever come up and punch you in the face. Okay? They have to turn the other cheek. But think about it. If somebody would, maybe it's not a physical punch, maybe it's an emotional punch. Maybe someone says something. Our first thing is always to retaliate, isn't it? But what happens if we're like, whoa, we stop? We make them look like the bad guy. Because if someone keeps nagging you on and on, it actually makes them look worse, right? So, when we react out of anger or seek revenge, we escalate a conflict, you guys. It makes it more difficult to ever change, doesn't it? It makes it more difficult to ever resolve. When Jesus said turn the other cheek, he wasn't telling us to get over it, though. He was telling us to strategically choose love instead of hate, you guys, because love changes things, okay? So here's my question for you guys. Who's your enemy? Who's your enemy, okay? Who are you tempted to hate, okay? Who's hurt you? And how can you strategically choose to love them? I'll close with this, okay? These are 4 things, guys, I want you to think about, okay? When we choose to love people we hate. Forgive. Starts with forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't something we do for the person that's hurt us. It's something we do for ourselves and for God, okay? 1, forgive. Notice, we all need people to model for us what compassion and love looks like, okay? But the good news is that these examples are everywhere. We just have to pay attention. So notice. Start noticing people, okay? Defend, okay? We talked a lot about what we need to do when we've been hurt. But don't forget that other people are being hurt all the time. Maybe there's somebody you need to defend, okay? Who's somebody that you notice that maybe needs some help, okay? And pray. Pray, okay? What we talked about is difficult, you guys, but it starts with prayer. If you're choosing to pray for your enemy or someone you really have a hard time with, it's really hard to hate them, okay? If instead of thinking about how can I get revenge on them or how can I get back on them, if you start thinking about, hey, I'm going to start every time, that little knife wound, that little jab comes up, I'm going to start praying for them. That hate and anger can turn to love, and you can really start see amazing things work, okay? So these are the 4 things, you guys. So, love those people that you have a hard time with, that you hate, okay? I believe that you guys here in this room and anybody that's listening to us online, if you start to choose love over hate, and we see a lot of hate in the news lately, don't we? There's a lot of stuff that's going on. I really believe if we can start to choose to love each other and get along, you guys, it'll grow and spread and even change our culture. Okay? So, join me in prayer. Lord God, I thank you that, we can gather in this building, Lord. I thank you that you are always still in control. And Lord, I know that as the school year is going to kick off, there's going to be lots of different things that are happening and going on. And I know there's things that come into our lives. There's people that sometimes we have conflicts with. There's people that say things that hurt us or do things or spread a rumor. And Lord, I pray that when hate wants to well up, that we would choose to be a people that love. I pray that we would start to transform our culture through love, that we would model grace, Lord, that we would model forgiveness. And not saying that if someone needs to be held accountable, that there is accountability for that, but in the accountability that we would offer forgiveness. So Lord, I pray everybody here, I ask that they would be world changers, that the people they come in contact with, that they would choose to love their enemies and pray for them, Lord. I just ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. All right, guys. So, hey, we're going to head outside, start a bonfire. We're going to play some games. There's kind of like volleyball Foursquare. You can hit the live stream. There's volleyball Foursquare. There is